healed, I am whole, I release, I know. To push, no need to try, no need to worry or question why. Surrender, let go, release, and in the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God. Still be at peace in my awakening. I release with my heart.
Good morning, Napa Valley. How good to see you guys this morning and be present with you. I'm Reverend Jay Lang, Senior Minister here. So excited to be here today and just open up this time, the space we have for as we call it, a beloved community, that we are being love in this community. So great to have all of you here to be part of this. We'd like to begin with a little music, and Calvin Johnson is back with us. Let's give him a round of applause.
You ever start your day and your guitar gets caught? Well, you know what that feels like. This is a song that is beloved, not just because of the civil rights movement, but just because it can be applied to everything you do. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe, keep singing, we shall overcome someday. The truth shall make us free. The truth shall make us free. The truth shall make us free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe the truth shall make us free someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome
That is a beautiful song. Just, I don't know, it does ring. I mean, obviously it was written for a certain time and a certain reason, and yet I think it rings true for everybody all the time. And this philosophy we have here is about setting ourselves free and helping others become free as well. So thank you for that. Let's give another round of applause. My mic's still on? Okay. So it's such a blessing to have all of you here. We like to begin our service with our vision and mission statement. If you'll look up on the screen, whether you're at home or here, and read with me. We are an inclusive community for spiritual growth and compassionate action. And our mission statement: we are co-creating a world that works for everyone by living intentionally, loving unconditionally, and seeing God in all people and all faiths. And so it is. So good to have that affirmation day. And before we begin our regular service, our sacred part of our service, I'd like to give you a few announcements, let you know a few things going on. I think I want to let you know we're celebrating Latinx Heritage Month that started this week. It's always good to consider the heritage that's in this valley and in the United States and really around the world, the wisdom, the strength, and the power and the love that's part of the Latinx heritage. And we use the word Latinx, if you don't know, rather than a Latina or Latino, just kind of making it genderless, including all Latinas and Latinos and different gender expressions in that way. So we honor that, and you'll see, during the talks, during different things, we'll feature different Latinxes that have been influential both in the valley and in the world. It's also Rosh Hashanah, so we stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters who are in the sacred holy days, the high holy days as they call them, which begin Thursday evening, I believe, and it's just a time of reflection And so we can be in reflection as well with our connection with Spirit with them. I feel a close connection with the local congregation Beth Shalom, as many of you do. So we just honor them and know that their time, that they have the space and protection, quite frankly, for their celebration. So we know that. And then there's, we talked about this Save the Date a long time ago, but now it's upon us. Just a week and a half from now, we're having our donor appreciation event. We're real excited about it. We're doing some planning. We've got some fun things going on that evening. So it's going to be like a social gathering when we have wine and special waters and appetizers and just time to connect with each other. We'll have a presentation and a couple activities that are going on. So please come. Starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's an afternoon time, and we'll be finished by 6:30. And it'll be just, you can see the weather's cooling off with the autumn coming, and it'll be a nice afternoon just to enjoy the time together and to honor all of you and all the support you've given of time, talent, and treasures supporting the vision and mission we have here at the center. So we want to honor you, and we're providing this event to honor all that you've done for us. So thank you. And then on the 23rd of this month, we're having a special workshop. The two of our brand new practitioners, Don and Dana, are going to lead this workshop called A Body Mindfulness, A Path of Healing. And it's going to be some connection with each other, meditation time, and time just to reflect on the aspect of our body that is a healing force, a healing element, and allows us to connect deeper. So I hope you're able to join. There's a sign-up sheet at the guest table outside, also a QR code that you can use to sign up, or go on our website and sign up there. So I hope that you're able to join. This is their first workshop, their first class, their first endeavor, so we really want to support them. If you can make it, that would be great. And then also this coming Thursday, we're having an autumn equinox celebration and ritual. This is very low-key. We're going to be out in the courtyard out there at 7 o'clock. We invite you to bring something that represents either some sort of growth, either your personal growth or perhaps growth in your garden, and just a representation of it, and share that, and we'll have a ritual there to bring in this official autumn time. And then on this would be Tuesday of this week also, is another pro-inclusion meeting that Joanne Sutro is part of, and Laura Keller, and also somebody from Congregation Beth Shalom. His name's Robert Solomon. They're the leaders of it. And they're considering different things that we can do that's in response to some of the signage around, both on Browns Valley and on Silverado, that is controversial and sometimes hateful, sometimes not very loving. And so we want to present a more loving way to do that. And I know they've worked with Browns Valley Elementary School. They're making signs and posting them or going to post them coming up on National Kindness Day, I think it is, or something like that. Or it's a pilot project. Okay, that'll be November. So what Joanne said for those people online is, if you have any questions about it, there's a meeting at Napa Methodist Church on Tuesday, September 19th at 5:30. Just sign up. You just come show up. And they're wanting more and more people involved in this. I think it's become a cry and an action of our community. There's also an individual who's now part of pro-inclusion, but he was doing it on his own because he didn't know there was pro-inclusion. But he put some signage out in front of one of the signs in Browns Valley. Rented his own U-Haul, painted the side of it, and it's really great, and even added to it to add to it. So, it's a continuing, evolving signage, and it's great that there's a response to take a stand. His name is Dr. Tracy Main, I believe his last name is. And so he's lives right across the street. And it's great that he But his thing is he wants to respond with love, not that if you respond with hate or anger, it just produces more hate and anger. So it's great that he has become a part of this and everything. And then also the following week, not only are we doing the pro-inclusion, which is a response to these signs, but we're continuing some book studies to look at some ancient wisdom that is brought by modern authors, including Rian Eisler, who wrote a book about new paths to power and love. And they've met once just at the beginning, but they're continuing, and we'll meet every other week. So the next meeting is on Monday, September 25th at 7 p.m., led by Laura Keller, one of our practitioners. So that's part of what we're doing too, and part of this, this month we're talking about love activism. And this is part of our love activism that we're doing, considering how we respond, but want to respond in a conscious, mindful way, not just impulsively. And speaking of fun ways to respond in love activism, next Sunday at 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, there's been an ongoing group that is part of the Season for Nonviolence and Responding Nonviolence, and they stand out on the corner of 3rd and Soskell just with signs of love and protecting the earth and peace, primarily Teresa Cahill is the person who is kind of the leader of that group. But if you want to be a part of this, anybody can join. We're going to put some sign making materials out after church next week, and you can just make your own signs and then come at 2 o'clock to 3rd and Soskell and stand out and just wave. And it's not confrontational, it's just fun to be out there. And it's a community of people that are doing it as well. And then another fun thing we're doing in October as we move towards the next month. A friend of mine and a friend of Susan Fransky's, she's a minister. She doesn't have a center. She lives in Santa Rosa, but her name is Reverend Sayuda Bell. And she has been leading workshops in this Ho'oponopono. You might have heard of that. It's an Hawaiian forgiveness process. And she's really an amazing conscious soul, spiritual soul. And what she's doing with the ongoing classes, I wanted her to bring to a workshop with us on the 22nd. I know you don't know her. She's going to come on the 15th to share about this workshop and to share so you get to know her a little bit. And then this will be after the service on Sunday, October 22nd. Also, on the 29th, Bodhi's going to be doing a sound healing, so that's something else to consider. So we've got a lot of things coming up. And then finally, I want to let you know, November 4th is a date you want to save, because that's going to be our volunteer dinner. We're going to, anybody who volunteers in any way here, you're invited. We'll probably be inside because that's getting a little colder at that time, a little cooler. And we'll be inside, and then we're going to have not only provide dinner for you. We don't want any volunteers to do anything that night. You just show up, and there's going to be dinner for you and fellowship, and we're going to have a so-so talent show that night too. Not promising it's going to be talent show, but we're promising you entertainment, okay? So without any further ado, So many things going on. I'm glad you're part of this community. And now we begin this sacred time with music.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper. My heart
as we just go within, closing your eyes if it feels comfortable, and just being present with the Spirit within you as we go deeper. As we go deeper into this moment and allow that sense of peace, that sense of love, that sense of joy to be within us. And we're so grateful for this. I know the truth that's within us is this Spirit. That is peace. I feel this deeper connection. I feel one with all life, and I know that all of us are one with all that is, with the sacred life that is so. As we just allow ourselves to be filled with this spiritual knowingness, the spiritual life, the spiritual feeling, and allow it to expand out into the world, knowing our connection. The life that is abundant with love and joy and peace. As we expand our awareness to all that is. We also know in this room and in the rooms that you are in, there is a life abundant. There's love abundant, joy abundant. And in this service broadcast out, it is right here in this room. We know all is God and all is love. That which is within us is around us. And we know this through the music and the message and people in service today, that there is all God and all good, for that is all there is. I know that anybody you hold in your heart, or any concerns you hold on your own heart, are wrapped in love and peace and joy and gratitude. That Spirit is with you, and this community surrounds you in love as well. I'm just so grateful for this time together as we open up this beautiful time, this time of sharing and awareness and mindfulness. And so it is. So I wanted to share with you today, we have the Centers for Spiritual Living. I know that we tend to be right here at this center, but we know there's another one in Santa Rosa, and one in Vallejo, and one in Marin County, and several in Oakland. So we think, but really there's 400 across the world, including Canada and Mexico and Peru and Chile and Germany and France and England and the Netherlands and all over the place, China, all over the place. And so each 3 years we elect a spiritual leader. And you met and know, many of you know Edward Viljoen, Reverend Dr. Edward Viljoen, who was our former spiritual leader. And I wanted you to meet our new spiritual leader. She's a little further away from us. She's from Kentucky. But it's great that we have elected somebody who is from the South. And her name is Reverend Sonny Cantrell Smith. And recently, I wasn't able to make it, but there was a convention at Sillamar, part of the SOAR conference, as they call it. And she spoke at that conference, and I wanted you to hear her voice in the room and her vision for Centers for Spiritual Living. So this is Reverend Sonny Cantrell Smith.
Critical examination and intelligent and patient investigation has birthed something new for us, something called sacred activism. Centers for Spiritual Living has long been at the forefront of personal growth, which has empowered us to become socially engaged, and now sacred activism calls us to meld our principles with our actions in the world. Sacred activism fuses our work in consciousness with our work in society. It is the ultimate extension of the phrase, treat and move your feet. Sacred activism inspires us to take proactive steps in the world because we are rooted in the science of mind, in the consciousness of oneness. That mind is the author of. For me, compassion lies at the heart of sacred activism. As I cultivate compassion through empathy, deep listening, and open-heartedness, this compassionate approach, I have found, extends not only to fellow human beings, but also to the earth and all living beings. For me, sacred activism recognizes that spirituality and social engagement are profoundly interconnected, and that authentic spiritual growth produces a genuine change in my world. It aligns with our core principles of oneness and love and the power of creative thought. And guess what? We have an opportunity right now to A, honor the wisdom of our ancestors who taught us the application of the principles. B, to stand in the present movement and recognize the sacredness of all life, and motivated by our vision, lean into the being born because we planted into mind a vision of a society of greater good. We planted into mind a world that works for everyone. And now it is returning to us, the thinker, the pathway to addressing every crisis that comes our way. And right now, in this very moment, we are benefiting from the seeds that have been planted in consciousness, and we are being drawn to our greater yet to be. By combining spiritual insights with social awareness, we can address social injustices, environmental challenges, and humanitarian crises. We are the ones the world has been waiting for. Let the world not wait any longer. Peace and blessings.
And she's talking about the seeds that we planted a long time ago with our vision to create a world that works for everyone, to make a difference. And those are, you put a vision out, you've got to act on it then, or it becomes uncomfortable. And so I'm so blessed that we are so blessed to have her as our leader to walk us into the ancient wisdom that we have that are part of our teachings, along with a modern new thought, and move forward in the 21st century in a way that is creating this world that works for everyone in what is ours to do. We can't do it all, and yet we can do so much. As Mother Teresa says, we can't all do great things, and that's our community as well, but we can do many things with great love. And I think that's, and from this place of oneness that she talks about, this is what the world is waiting for. So let's give her a round of applause for all that she's doing.
I heard this song about 10 years ago, and it blew me away. I hope you like it.
I love that song. Who wrote that?
This was written by a man named Colin Ray.
Colin Ray. I love it. And it really fits into our topic today. So we're continuing to talk about love activism, which is Reverend Sonny Contrell Smith was calling it sacred or spiritual activism, love activism. That's the same thing we're talking about this month. And we're so excited to dive into this idea about what is ours to do. And I think that's a question we ask ourselves individually and collectively. And this week, what we're talking about in particular is kind of the update of the golden rule. Now, you know, from very early on, you were told the golden rule is to love others as we would want to be loved, right? As we would want to be treated. But the updated version of that is it's called a platinum rule, and to love others as they would want done to them. And it requires a connection. It requires a consideration beyond ourselves to do that. I heard a funny little story about a woman, kind of sad in some ways, but she texted her daughter that their Aunt Susie had passed and followed it with the acronym LOL. And the daughter goes, "Why is that funny?" And she goes, "It's not," and I texted back, "It's not funny." "What do you mean funny?" She goes, "Well, LOL means laughing out loud." And she goes, "Oh my God, I thought that meant lots of love." So sometimes our love is lost in translation because we make assumptions. We make things that we assume what people would like when we haven't asked them what is the best, more about them. And it's interesting about the golden rule because it's really universal in all of religions and all of cultures. Judaism, which is one of the foundation religions in both Islam and Christian, in their sacred scriptures, it says to what you find hateful, don't do to your neighbor. And Islam says, do not wish for others what you wish for yourself. Of course, the Christian might be more familiar with us, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But also the Asian religions, Buddhism, whatever is disagreeable to yourself, do not do unto others. Confucianism, do not do to others what you do not want done to you. And Hinduism, do not unto others that which would cause you pain if done to you. So there's all these, that's great, and it's a great teaching tool for children to begin to learn respect and empathy. But as we grow older, we're much more complex beings. And as we are in relationships, we need and others need more than respect. We would like to be understood and to be listened to, and to people to find the different ways that we are. We're more than a two-dimensional being, and we have experiences that have affected the way we show up in the world, and to hear that and to be present with that is what we call the platinum rule. I listened to a TED Talk this week by a woman named Jennifer Furlong, and she talked about the platinum rule, and she said, the golden rule is a terrible relationship guide, because that means that we are assuming that we know what somebody else wants based on what we want. And really this idea that the golden rule is the absolute rule does have limitations. A lot of people, when they think of the golden rule, they think it means to listen to others so that you will be heard or that we will be heard. To seek to understand someone so in turn they will make an effort to understand us. You can see how this is more of a selfish turn. Or we're going to model for you the behavior that we want from others. And this is an example of sometimes people will apologize because of something they said, but they get mad when the other person doesn't apologize also. And they're just not ready for that. You can apologize. Your apology should come from a place of regret and sincere wishing that it hadn't happened that way, that's independent of what they are feeling, that it comes from your heart. And then the what is applied often in the business world, in Marketing 101, is we seek to understand others so we can use that information to get them to do what we want. If you are a person who surfs online or seeks to buy something online quickly, those ads start popping up for you to buy more of them. So it's kind of scary how much our interests are read by artificial intelligence or by the world or certain kind of markers that they're. And instead, this platinum rule, what we're talking about is really understanding someone and doing unto them as they would want done to them. To ask them. A friend of mine, Tracy Brown, she's a practitioner that's out of Dallas, but she's this extraordinary, she's been in leadership with Centers for Spiritual Living, just an extraordinarily powerful woman. And she wrote a book called Stained Glass Spirit, Becoming a Spiritual Community, guiding spiritual communities towards ways to become a loving and activist kind of center. She said that the platinum rule guides us to treat others the way they would like to be treated. It's important when we are engaging with people who represent a different background or who value different norms, or, and this is an important one, if you do not know the background or cultural heritage of the person. I just assume you don't know the person. Even if you know them, you often heard me quote the Heraclitus fragment, the philosopher, say, no person ever crosses the same river twice because the person is different and the river is different. So even if you know that person, the last, since I don't know if you saw them 10 minutes ago, they've had experiences and evolution and emerging things that are happening. And if we hold them to what they were before, what we knew them before, we're limiting their growth and consciousness. So we give them this space and this understanding and this allowing in our relationships. My Tuesday night class, This Life is Joy, we were talking about, we watched a video by Eckhart Tolle about, he was talking about the Zen Buddhist teaching story about a teacup. You might have heard it before. And the master teacher, a student came that wanted to be filled with wisdom. And he said, well, here, take this teacup and I'll show you what's important. And the teacup was already full of tea. And the master teacher, Zen teacher, began to pour more into it. And the student goes, wait, you can't put more water in there. It's already full. And the wisdom is, and so you must empty before you receive the wisdom I have to teach too. But Eckhart Tolle says, there's something wrong in my mind with that metaphor. He says he thinks it's possibly mistranslated for what Buddha meant. Because he says it's not about emptiness, because there's no way to empty completely. I mean, if you ever try to meditate, it's impossible to get rid of all those thoughts, right? You slow down the thoughts, you lessen the thoughts, and you come to a certain peace within you. But he said a better translation of it is to have spaciousness, to expand the consciousness, to evolve. When I think of the metaphor of the Zen teacher, I think of it as instead of just getting a bigger cup to put our tea in, to expand our thoughts and our consciousness to allow different kinds of people than we've experienced, or not trying to file people into a certain category or a certain way of being, just to allow this spaciousness to happen and to allow this deeper connection to come forth. But we need to slow down and allow the spaciousness. The Franciscan tradition, if you don't know about them, they follow the teachings of Jesus, but they also follow the model of St. Francis. They have this idea about a practice of seeing with the eye of our hearts. probably similar to Hinduism about seeing the God in other people. But I love the way they talk about it from their hearts. They are seeing people, not from their minds, because our minds are very judgmental. They're very discerning. They're very putting people in certain categories. So now I feel comfortable. When in truth, this ambiguity, this allowing people to be who they are, gives them room to be. And this last week, I introduced a woman named Stacy Russo, who was a librarian at first, and she sought to find what different kinds of books people wanted as a librarian. And so to me, this is start of a platinum rule, that in our lives, we seek to know who people are, so together, and it's not codependent where so I can meet your needs. It's so we can meet our needs in that way. And she talked about the 8 ways of love activism, and they go right into this idea of the platinum rule. And 3 of them we covered last week: mindfulness, creativity, and service. And by the way, we have YouTube talks that you can go back and listen to. We need to update them, but we will, including last week's. And then also this week we're talking about nonviolence and empathy, and next week we're going to be talking about self-care, hope, and equality. But they're all part of this love activism. I think it's a great way to kind of open up this discussion. And so the first one we're talking about today is mindfulness, and and nonviolence. And nonviolence, to me, I almost always think of Gandhi. And he says that nonviolence is the greatest force at disposal of mankind. It is mightier than the mightiest weapon that is devised by the ingenuity of man. And so this idea that it is a force, and it's not necessarily a passive force, it's just nonviolent. It's standing clear on something, and that this is a boundary that is right here, and that this is a stand for it. And yet it is with love. It is not with hate or anger. And Gandhi was the first person, according to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who made nonviolence famous here in the United States. He said Gandhi was the first person to transform Christian love into a powerful force for social change. And Dr. King said it gave him a method for social reform that he had been seeking. And I believe it is a way of spirit that to do things nonviolently. I mean, if you look back in history, in the Bible, and other sacred texts, all these people are acting out of spiritual love, and yet clarity. I mean, when Moses went to the Pharaoh to ask for the Jewish slaves to be freed, he wasn't kind in what he was doing, but he was loving. He was clear on what he was saying. He wasn't going, yeah, maybe in like a couple of years you could let these people go. You know, whenever you get the chance, whenever it's convenient for you. I don't mean to, he said, this is the time. And if you don't do this, you're out of integrity, and there's going to be things that are happening that will bring suffering to your Egyptian people if you don't let them go. And that did come to pass. And when finally Moses was able to lead the Jews out of slavery, he got to the Red Sea, and he put his staff down in clarity, and the Red Sea parted. Jesus knocked over the tables in the temple because it didn't hurt anybody. It wasn't violent, but it was clear that this was not okay to make the synagogue, the temple, a den of thieves. And it went on with Gandhi and King and Nelson Mandela, Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez, women's marches, civil rights marches, Black Lives Matter. These are all part of this love activism, this nonviolent way. I love Dolores Huerta because of what she did starting from a very young age when she was just in her 20s and into now she's 93, a clarity about what is right and what is standing for the rights of farm workers that she did with Cesar Chavez, but also I think it was in 1988. I didn't know this till I was doing some research on her. not living in California at the time, but she was brutally beaten by a San Francisco police officer. Did people know that? I didn't know that. I mean, some other cases have received so much publicity of police brutality, but she was beaten, and it took her many months to recover from this. And it is during that time, what's interesting is she took some reflection time, and what apparently happened is she saw the oppression that was happening across this world. So she expanded her work from just the farm workers that she had such a narrow vision about, to women, to LGBTQ people, to other races and faiths. And she began to do her work, and it was controversial, particularly with other leaders of the farm workers movement, that they said, no, we just need to focus on this. That's somebody else's to do. And she goes, no, this is mine to do. And she continued to do it. She continues to do it today. She was a co-leader of the Women's March in 2017 that marched in Washington, D.C. This is an amazing woman that keeps on working in that. And so I continue to open up to this idea about what is mine to do, what is ours to do in this way, in this idea that the work with the pro-inclusion we do, standing on the street corner for Season or Nonviolence, working with different community service projects, the projects we do here, and the nonprofits that we partner with in different ways, that what is ours to do as we open up. One of the things about the signs that are out on Browns Valley and the response to it, I was interested in the latest sign that this man who's in Browns Valley put up, and his last sign really struck a nerve with me. He said, hate what God hates. And I had two responses to that, and he put a Bible verse down there, and I had two responses. First of all, I don't want to hate, and I don't think God hates, so I don't know what, so I looked at the Bible verse, and it doesn't say that at all. So it does say what God hates, but you look back at the biblical context of that from Proverbs, and you look back to the ancient Jewish sacred text, and the word for hate was really a hieroglyphic symbol, because they didn't have written letters. This was back 5,000 years ago. It was a symbol that was a thorny vine and a seed. So it was a thorny seed. And at that time, and still probably today, they planted thorny bushes to kind of protect their property from other people, from animals and things like that. So it's a protective thing. And so what I hear in that phrase, it lists things that, according to Bible, that God hates, but really I think this is what is out of alignment with the universal knowingness. And it lists things like a lying tongue, a heart that devises wicked schemes, quick to rush into evil, false witness, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. So these are things that are out of alignment. But what's interesting about this truck is people could say this is out of alignment, but there was a television news story about this couple that lived across the street and their response to it, and their response was love. We know what our response is. We know when we're in alignment with Spirit. We know what's true, and that's part of that. What is ours to do, that we need to open up in a way that is nonviolent yet compassionate at the same time, and we can be aligned to that as a community. We can align with that, which is protective, which is saying this is not okay. This is the thorny vines out here, that this is not okay, but inside it's love and compassion and a seeking to understand rather than to be understood, as St. Francis said. So we also know that the other part of this love activism is empathy. And empathy to me is being able to see with another through another person's lens. And I love this picture about these two people. Although it's an illustration, they're seeing through each other's eyes. And like I said, empathy and love activism and the Platinum Rule is not just so I can love you, but it's how we find a way to love each other. And how we meet in the middle in vulnerability and a willingness to be heartfelt. I appreciate Reverend Sonny's comment about love activism and sacred activism being rooted in compassion rather than the head. And I think that's what we need to continue to do in our practices of empathy. I have a friend who bought property, and it's a big property, several acres. I don't know exactly how big, but he was telling me the story how when they did an assessment of the property, and he had seen the property but hadn't really walked the property. But on paper, the next door neighbor, who also had a large property, had some trees that had grown into his property. And so he called this neighbor, he wrote the neighbor, and kind of did an action note that you got to take these trees down because they're on my property, and we're reassessing this line. And this guy said, no, I can't do that. And there was this argument about it, and my friend started threatening legal action. And then the guy goes, why don't you just come out? Let's talk. And so he came out and he walked the property with this guy, and the guy started talking about the stories of these trees that are on this property line. And he could see why he didn't want to cut them down. There were these big, beautiful trees. Now there was one that was close to the house, and the next door neighbor said, yeah, we can take that one out. But the other ones, understanding why those trees were important, and they could share those trees. And this is what, on paper, in our head, in our mind, not mindfulness, but in our judgment, we think it's one way, but when we walk with this person, and we talk with this person, and we listen, we know what value there is. So I think it's important that we continue to walk this way and this way, because what I know is that any talk of God that doesn't comfort is a lie, according to Meister Eckhart. And the way of Spirit is love. The way of Spirit is knowing. And I do believe the world, when we're talking about loving people with the Platinum Rule, I'm assuming a few things, but I think the world needs more love that is clear and clean and without attachments, without trying to get something out of somebody, and just being present and loving for them. And we all need people to walk with us and talk with us and just be with us without expectations. I think, as Reverend Sonny said, the world is waiting for this. And they don't need to wait any longer, because we're willing to step forth in what is ours to do. And consider that consciously and from the heart, and follow through and act on it. Sometimes it's just a phone call to somebody. Sometimes it's a bigger activity. And we know what we do can be done with great love, whatever it is. I just go back to Mother Teresa, who, God, there's this woman that accomplished all things in her life, and what she saw was just one baby, one child at a time with love. So let us nurture ourselves, and let us nurture others with this divine love that is sourced in a way that there is no end to it. Let us pray. So just opening our hearts and opening our minds, we recognize that there is work to do in the world, and yet it is one that is easy and flows. So what I know in this moment is that we are all messengers of Spirit. That we are connected to the divine in all ways, and that which we do is connected to all of life, And whatever action we do means it is a spiritual activism. It is love activated, the activity of love. And so we just allow ourselves to be guided by what is ours to do. We are this truth. We are this power and this love. And we allow it to be so in our lives and continue to create through this, be through this, and be this loving presence, this love activity in the world. We are so grateful for this. We know Spirit is guiding us and with us at all times, whatever we may be going through, whatever a friend of ours is going through. We know Spirit is with us, with them, and with all us at all times. We're grateful for this in this moment, and so it is.
There's only us, there's only this. Forget regret, for life is yours to miss. No other road, no other way, no day but today. There's only us, there's only tonight. We must let go to know what's right. No other path, no other way, no day but today. I can't control my destiny. I trust my soul. My only goal is just to be. There's only now, there's only here, giving to love, living here, no other road, no other way, no day but today. There's only us, there's only this. Forget regret, life is yours to miss. No other road, no other way, no day but today. No day but today. No day
So true. No day but today. Beautiful, beautiful. Could I have the ushers come forward? This is a time in our service when we invite you to be part of the law of circulation. We know that which you give continues to open up your heart, open up that which you are in so many ways. We're grateful for your supporting of our vision and mission here at our center. There are a number of ways to give, either online, texting, or checks that you can give. So we appreciate all that you give. And if you happen to have given already at a different time, feel free, or just everybody anyway, place your hand over your heart to represent that which you're giving, and repeat with me the affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate, and so it is.
Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, flow into
We'd also like to acknowledge you if you happen to be here for the first time or your first time in a long time. We appreciate you being here. If you're willing to raise your hand, we have a gift for you, an acknowledgement of you. So we always appreciate having guests, and bring your neighbors, bring your friends, and be with us in this community, this beautiful community we have. As I mentioned, after the service next Sunday, we'll be making signs for peace and earth protection, things like that. So join us for doing that, and join us out on the 3rd and Soskell in the afternoon. But also sign up for that workshop. I think that'll be a great workshop. So let's raise our hands for those new people, either online or here in person, and we say, we bless you today, knowing that the peace and happiness you seek is also seeking you. We honor your inner radiance as you let your light shine in the world. We are grateful for your presence in our community, and so it is. Also want to let you know that our practitioners are available after the service. If they could come up and stand up here. We appreciate our practitioners and the prayers they give us. If you want a brief affirmative prayer after the service, just stay in here, stay in your seat. Everybody else, if you could go on out into the community, we'd appreciate the sacred space we have here. Or if you just want some time to have a little reflective time, feel free to stay in here. So if we'll all stand for the community affirmation now. And repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
I am led by Spirit.
I am led by Spirit.
I am guided by wisdom.
I am guided by wisdom.
I am protected by love.
I am protected by love.
I am here to be a blessing.
I am here to be a blessing.
I am so grateful.
I am so grateful.
And so it
And
is.
so it is.
Our closing song, if anybody wants to move to the outside so we can face each other as we say that they love me with you. You're welcome to stay in the middle. And always, and so it is.
Welcome to the Napa Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We are a vibrant, inclusive, and spiritual community that seeks to live intentionally, love unconditionally, and see God in all people and in all faiths. We believe the work we do in prayer and in the community creates a world that works for all cultures, races, orientations, and faiths. For over 60 years, we have practiced thinking globally and acting locally to help awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Annually, hundreds of people actively participate in our services, classes, events, and in our Spanish-speaking ministry. And we are training the next generation of spiritual leadership in our ministerial school. In the last few years, because of apparent divisions politically and socially, and because of threats to basic human rights, we have magnified our application of Science of Mind principles with engagement and compassion in action in the greater Napa Valley community. Our members have participated in women's marches, pride events, and we have hosted speakers on racial issues. We have empowered and mentored diverse leaders in our community and given scholarships to diverse ministerial students. We have donated over 4,000 pounds of food to our local food bank. Our spiritual director, Reverend Jay Lang, has facilitated an interfaith leadership group to hold public prayer vigils and 9/11 commemorations in participation with Jews, Muslims, and Christians. We have fostered the creation of a beloved community in the larger Napa Valley area by honoring community heroes at events and tithing to and partnering with a dozen different nonprofits that share our vision. Together, we've created a Martin Luther King Day of Service where over 1,200 participated in community service annually. The leadership of our parent organization, the Centers for Spiritual Living, headquartered in Golden, Colorado, recognized our community for all of the outstanding, compassionate work we've been doing over the last few years with the 2022 Meritorious Community Award. As we move forward to do this work of the heart, to awaken the world to its spiritual magnificence, will you join us as we continue to ascend to new heights and create a world that works for everyone?